It feels so good to be back talking about one of my favorite shows of last year, making its return for season 2. We're talking Only Murders in the Building, episodes 1 and 2. So happy to be here with you all. We got some episodes to go over, and we have a murder mystery to solve, and I'm so excited to be here with you all, breaking it all down here in this spoiler discussion. Before we get into the breakdown, if you are a fan of this type of content, well, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel and love early movie reviews, TV breakdowns, and live streams, well, come and join the community by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. If you all enjoyed today's spoiler review, well, make sure you're liking this video as well as sharing it, but more importantly, sharing your thoughts on these first 2 episodes. From which of the 2 were your favorite? Who's your favorite new character of the new season so far? And of course, we got to talk about who is Rose Cooper? Is she really dead? What's the deal with Charles and his dad and his affairs? The missing painting. You know, we got Bunny's mom coming to the mix, and we have a new character by the name of Alice Banks. Can we trust her? And more importantly, who killed Bunny? Let's discuss it in the comments below. So with all that being said, if this is your first time kind of tuning into one of my breakdowns of this fantastic show, we covered it all last year, and I had such a fun time doing so. And it literally feels like it was yesterday that we're covering the show, but it's been 8 months, but time flies. We're going to be doing this every single week. We did it last year, broken down every episode, have some fun discussions in the comments, theories which were off the charts and incredible. We're doing the same thing for this new season. Every single week, whenever a new episode drops, come back to the channel. Let's have some fun. Let's have some theories. Let's solve this case as a community and have a good old time. With that being said, we got 2 new episodes to break down, and we're going to do it in this video. So with all that, full spoilers ahead as we open the new season with episode 1, which was titled Persons of Interest. Charles lets us know you can either be famous for doing something good or something terrible. We see our team being investigated by one of the new detectives played by Michael Rappaport, who I'm a fan of. He's grilling our team, and he is convinced that Mabel is responsible for Bunny's death. And right off the bat from the opening sequence, whether it was the whole decorative mirrors joke or Mabel being like, screw you, I want a lawyer, to all the different things, your story has more holes than a murder victim. It feels so good to be back in this show because seriously, it has such a great mix of comedy. The chemistry of our 3 leads is incredible, and it's a really good murder mystery. And again, this opening sequence, I was just smiling ear to ear, and I am just so happy to be back. But hey, let's get back into the discussion as Mabel calls out the detectives because they mention, where's the knife? Where did you put the knife? And she's like, wait, knife? I thought it was my knitting kit that was the murder weapon. Catching them in a lie, and we saw Detective Williams being like, you're a rookie under these guys pick up on everything. So yeah, where is that knife is the big question, which we'll get into my suspect list a little bit later. But I love how Mabel caught that slip up by the detective there. Which, speaking of Detective Williams, she pulls our crew to the side, lets him know for right now you haven't been charged with anything quite yet, but it is time to in the podcast, find a new hobby, don't do this anymore. And we see that they're in the clear for now, but yeah, that doesn't last by the end of this episode. They're back together, but they have a minute where they try to look into new things. And of course, we have Oliver, who's just loving all this attention and loving all the fame that they're getting so far, even though he was cropped out of the picture of the news report. But let's get back into what's going on here. As can our crew actually move on? Well, we see Mabel. She wants to try to move on. She wants to take the advice from Detective Williams and get back to their boring old lives as she looks on her Instagram, #Bloody Mabel, and she comes across a message from Allison Banks, played by Cara Delevingne, and she invites her to pay a visit to her gallery. And we see as she goes to the gallery, which by the way, that look that Mabel has, Selena Gomez looked absolutely gorgeous in that fit that she had, but she meets Alice. They seem to hit it off. You know, she offers her a position. Y'all know the OGs that watched my coverage last year. My Jan radar is going off right now, but I don't know if this show is going to recycle what they did in season 1, where the new love interest is the person that murdered Bunny. But I have my eye on you, Alice, and we'll talk about her a little bit later. But let's check in with our other crew as Charles gets the news that they want to reboot his show, and they already got 18 seasons, or I should say 18 episodes lined up, but he's not going to be the lead. That's going to be Naomi Jackson, and they want Charles to be the good old uncle. So I am excited to meet this Naomi Jackson. I assume it's going to be a pivotal character moving forward, and who knows what ties or connections this Naomi Jackson character has. But it's good to know that Charles is getting a little bit of limelight, getting his show back off the ground. But what's going on with Oliver as he is having a conversation with yet another new character played by herself, Amy Schumer, playing Amy Schumer, who's a big fan of the podcast and actually wants to buy the rights of their podcast and turn it into a series. Amy Schumer, we'll talk about her a little bit later. I'm not the biggest, I don't find her to be that funny, but we'll get to that a little bit later as far as does she fit in this new story. But let's move on. Cinda's only murderers in the building investigation, and I love the creativity when they were like going into our characters' minds as they were pretending that she was in the room with her, and she's spilling all the beans on her new podcast as she is putting all of them on blast, from Charles's dad, who was in and out of prison when he was young, which we'll talk about a little bit later, Mabel's connections to 3 murders, Oliver's past in Broadway, and him having a hatred towards Bunny. A lot of stuff that she's throwing out there, and this was the catalyst to getting our team back together as they want to clear Mabel's name, and she's starting to kind of recollect what happened that night when Bunny died, and she told her 14. Now, we all know the significance of 14 is our boy Charles. He lives on that floor, and we'll talk about the Savage Pain and his connection a little bit later here, but we also have to clear her name as far as Mabel goes as they decide to break into Bunny's apartment because they hear some weird noises and events as they discover that she had a bird that sounds just like her, as Oliver is looking for the notes that he left her because he didn't have the best things to say about her. In comes Howard and Uma, and they're looking for a painting that has a lot of value, but that painting is missing. Meanwhile, we see our crew go into the closet. Again, classic murder mystery type of moment here as they find a secret closet. We had the secret door last year. Now we have a secret elevator. You gotta love this show. They find this elevator as it leads down to the back of the building. And we end the episode with Oliver finding those notes, which one of the notes actually said, "I want to get your painting." We see Maple recalls more of that night of what Bunny told to her as she told her Savage. And we all know Charles's last name is Savage, and we'll talk about in episode 2 the connections of his past. And we also get Bunny's painting is now found in Charles' apartment, and he mentions, wait a minute, that person on that painting looks very familiar, as it is revealed to be his dad. So as far as episode 1 goes, what a great way to open a season. What a great way to get back into the characters, get back into the swing of things. Cara Levine, she was in, I think it was called Paper Towns. I thought she was okay in that film, and she was also in Suicide Squad. I don't think she's that great of an actress. We'll get to her in episode 2, but let me know how you all are feeling about the performance. And Amy Schumer, she does too much for me. I don't find her to be that funny. So far, she's meshing well with Oliver's character because that's who she's been spending the most time with so far. But let me know how you all feel about episode 1 as we transition over to episode 2. But before we do so, I am happy to say that this video is being sponsored by Into the AM, which I'm wearing their gear right now. Very cool shirt. But with all that being said, let's hear a word from our sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Into the AM. Into the AM is a clothing company with a variety of amazing products such as t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, shorts and underwear, headwear, and much more. Their t-shirts have unique designs, they're incredibly soft and extremely comfortable, and they're made to last. But the best part is you can get 10% off by using my discount code MovieFiles when you're selecting your new gear, which you can find that code in the description below. All right, so if you want to be rocking a t-shirt like this or all their other awesome gear, you can find that discount code in the description of this video. And if you do buy something, shoot me a link. Let me know. Take a picture of it. Tag me on Instagram and Twitter for I can show you some love and support. And again, if you want to rock this gear, all that information is in the description. With all that being said, let's get back into the breakdown and get into episode 2, which was titled Frame, which the big theme in this episode was your past catching up to haunt you. As we open the episode with the backstory of Bunny, we learn a little bit more backstory of the Arconia building, which was built in 1908 by Mr. Carter. We see that each of his buildings had a secret location, including him spying on his residence. And we also learn within this opening montage that this is Bunny's grandfather, and there are some very interesting ties, connections. Could Bunny be related to Charles? We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I do want to point out the secret elevator. There's probably other secret compartments, other secrets within this building. And I love that they're kind of planting that seed very early on in the season, but also giving us some of that history of this building. Love the opening as we transition over to getting another flashback, but from Charles's perspective, as we meet his dad, who's trying to inspire to be an up-and-coming actor, as his mom is not that supportive of the idea. But the big question is, what does Charles have to do with this building? Why is he leaving his young son out to do whatever he was doing in his affairs upstairs? We'll get to that a little bit later. But as we move it on to having Bunny's gathering, Howard, listen, we talked about Howard last year. He was very suspicious and his cats and the frozen cat and all that stuff. But that black eye, I don't trust Howard in his little stories that he has going on as he invites our team to this gathering. And they go to the gathering and they find that they want to take the painting back. The plan is to go to the secret elevator and drop it off, but our crew, they fumbled the bag on that plan. But meeting some new characters as we see Nita Lynn is the new board president and she is the new heir. And apparently she's worse than Bunny. I'm excited to meet more of this Nita and this character. She seems so far to be very kind of something stuck up her rear end, but very excited to learn more about that character. But speaking of new characters, in comes Leonore, aka Big Bunny, who's also Bunny's mom, and I love her kind of presence and her being included and her sniffing the innocence out of our crew. She has a past, a very scandalous past that we'll get into here, but she is in the mix. She's here to get her painting as we see that they end up the whole plan of leaving the painting from the back door. Charles accidentally closes the door. They leave it by the dumpster. Like, come on, that's a rookie move. You guys aren't rookies. This is season 2. You're the murder season. You're the experts. Why are you leaving the evidence by the dumpster? Not a good move there, but it is time to look at our boards of suspects, which right now there are no main leads except for Charles himself. But let's check in on what's going on with this Rose Cooper character. But first, Mabel ends up going to Alice's gallery and learns about this character who used to be an artist but died mysteriously, which I have a little bit of an idea and a theory about this mysterious death of this character. But before we get into all that, Alice wants Mabel to be a part of this piece and destroying her piece that she made for her. Literally and metaphorically, what she ends up doing, they end up having a makeout session, and this is kind of a new love interest. Like I mentioned in episode 1, I don't think they'll go back to the well that it's the new love interest that's the killer. I do think that there is something going on with Alice and some secrets and maybe who she's related to. We'll talk about that at the end of this video. But again, I told y'all my Jan radar is going off with this Allison Banks character. But what's going on with Oliver as he's meeting with Amy Schumer, who wants to do a one-hand job in this new podcast turned into a series? Oliver suggests making it a 2-focus series with Charles being played by Timothy Chalamet and Amy Schumer playing Mabel. But Mabel, no, we don't want to go that route, as Amy Schumer wants it to be a Jan-focused show and she wants to be in a lead role. And again, going back to Amy Schumer, I'm not vibing with her. I think it's meant to be a satire on her a little bit. So obviously she's playing it to like 11 versus kind of being like more of a normal character. So I understand that angle. But it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute because, again, like I said, Amy Schumer, I don't find her to be that funny. But hopefully with great actors that we know are in this show and their chemistry, maybe she could feed off of that and kind of build more into the narrative. But so far, yeah, it's only 2 episodes, but hopefully I can gradually grow into her characteristics. But let me know how you all feel about Amy Schumer in these first 2 episodes, as well as Cara Delevingne's character. Let me know how you all feel about her so far. But going back to Rose Cooper, as Bunny fills Charles in on her past, we learned that she was desperate and was trying to get away from a man, and she needed money, which this is where Leonore actually bought the painting. And after that, she ended up going missing and declared dead, which in return made her painting go up in value. So this is where my kind of theory kind of comes in. Did she really die? Or did she fake her death, kind of knowing that she was desperate for money and probably knowing that her investment, or I should say her art piece, will go up in value? And, maybe there's some ties with Charles's dad being in the mix and, screwing Leonore over. So That's what I'm kind of thinking from now. Let me know if you all are in the same ballpark and thinking that there's some kind of stuff going on there with the death of Rose Cooper. But getting back into another flashback with Charles, as we see his dad was paying a visit to the building, and we assume that he was there to go for the painting, but we'll talk about him. What a terrible dad. To leave your son out there all night. I know it was a different time back then, but come on, that's some bad parenting if you ask me. But let's talk a little bit more about what's going on with Amy in this episode as she ends up taking the painting, and we find out that the painting was a fraud. But the question is, where's the original? Who has the original is the big question. Wrapping up the episode, we end with Charles's flashback of his dad again leaving him in the middle of the night and getting arrested. Question is, why was he getting arrested? Did the husband of whoever he was I assume that was Leonore, because we find out she had an affair with him. So did her husband call the police? He had some blood on his shirt. Did something happen? Because they said he was in and out of prison. So I assume that he didn't get out of prison if he killed someone. So something happened there, which, obviously we'll find out a little bit later. But we also see that Charles hears about the affairs that was going on between her, Leonore, and going on with Rose Cooper and Charles' dad. So it was some three-way situation. Like I said, I'm starting to suspect maybe Rose Cooper and Charles's dad was like, you know what, we're going to get this rich woman in the mix. We're going to do this whole hoax of a death type of thing and fake the death maybe. So that's where my mind's at right now. I could be way off, but let me know what you all think about that. But we end the episode with the good old bird letting them know that they know who did it. Very interesting way to end the episode. Overall, as far as these two first episodes, I thought it was fantastic. The mystery is very interesting. The comedy's still there. The chemistry of our three main leads is fantastic. I'm a little bit on the fence about the performances of Amy Schumer. Again, understanding that she's kind of playing a kind of meta version of herself. She is Amy Schumer in this world, so she's kind of playing into that, but we'll see if it grows on me. Cara, I never found her to be a good actress, so I'm hoping that they can give her something that can make her a believable character and a believable actress. So we'll see where this love angle goes. Again, I'm starting to think too as far as just suspects. Let me share my suspect list with you all. Like I mentioned, Alice, could she be related to Rose Cooper, and in some way she's involved with it, like she's the daughter, the niece, or something of that nature, and she's getting Mabel and all of them into the mix where she can blame the murder on them, because they're doing a lot to try to get our crew down as far as planting the seeds and framing them. So is Alice Banks somehow connected to Rose Cooper? Let me know your thoughts on that. And speaking of Rose, like I said, I don't think she's dead. I think she faked her murder, and I think it was like her and Charles's dad wanted to get Bunny's mom in the mix and kind of screw her over, and maybe things didn't work out as they planned. So let me know. And then again, going back to maybe she wanted to, Rose Cooper somehow killed Bunny in revenge because her mom screwed her over when they were younger. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that. But again, great 2 episodes. I'm excited for this new murder. I'm excited to find out more secrets about the building. Obviously, learning more about these characters in their past, and it's going to be a fun time. So thank you all for watching this review. Again, let me know your thoughts, your theories, your predictions. Who are your suspects? And of course, your overall thoughts on these first 2 episodes. And of course, what do you hope to see in the rest of the season? Again, shout out to the sponsor of this video. Link in the description if you want to pick up one of these shirts and get an amazing discount on this amazing type of apparel. Thank you again for watching the review. Hope you're staying safe. As you all can see on the screen now, come and join the community. Check out my other reviews for season 1 and check out my most recent review, and we'll catch you all on the next breakdown.